Dawkins on Duke podcast, and guy Shammond Williams. Carolina Conversations, right?
Yeah, Carolina Conversation, of course.
Yes, sir. So you can check both of us out, Field of 68 Network. Wanted to do a special episode. Obviously, we got the big matchup tomorrow in Cameron, Duke and Carolina. So I wanted to bring on and kind of chat a little bit about our games, and looking forward to the game tomorrow. All right, I think we got you back.
Okay, there you go. All right, I apologize. I'm working on it. All right, I'm good.
It's all good. Technology, man.
Yeah.
All right, so what we wanted to do was kind of rewind the clock a little bit, and we'll talk a bit, since this is first games at Duke. We'll talk a bit about our Duke Carolina games in Cameron, and then maybe we'll get back together for the Carolina game and do our games at Carolina. So start with mine. My freshman year was a pretty good one for us. We got that win 82-50, which I think is the biggest win at Cameron for us in the rivalry series. Yeah, just not a great night for Carolina. I mean, it wasn't a good year.
Yeah, it wasn't 82-50. My goodness.
Yeah. Not a whole lot of drama, but hey, the crazies loved it.
Oh,
yeah. So yeah, it was a good senior night for our guys that night, man.
Yeah.
Did you watch that game?
Or
you tried to erase it out of your memory?
I probably watched it. There's not many that I watched.
Yeah.
Have not watched, but that 82-50, my goodness. I'm gonna have to go back in the archives and see who participated on that one. So I can find some redemption in there somewhere. 50.
Yeah.
That's a 32 piece.
Yeah, it's not often you hold a Carolina team to 50 points, man, and so that was kind of crazy. But to be fair to them, pretty sure the year before they won it, and so they lost a lot of talent to the league, and so they were kind of rebuilding a little bit. So
yeah, you can say what you want to say, but 50, man, that's a 32 piece.
Yeah, that doesn't happen often. Well, ever.
You get fried chicken, you get okra, and you get honey biscuits with a 32 piece. They even give you apple pies with that.
Yeah, they give you a gallon of sweet tea too.
Yeah, good night. Woo, boy. Yeah, that one's What was that? What year was that, Dre?
2010.
Woo, good gracious.
Yeah. And to be fair, we did win it all that year, so you lost by 30 to the national champions.
No, ain't nothing. Matter of fact, Dre, now that you asked me, I probably didn't watch it. I was asleep at that time. Up under a rock. But, yeah, I had to go back and look at that one, man. Well, congratulations. I'll go. My freshman year actually is one of the games that are always shown on ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
1995 over in Cameron. Coach K, I think may have had surgery that year.
Yeah, back surgery year. Yeah,
back surgery, and I think Gaudio was coaching the team. And at that point in time, Duke wasn't performing and like they usually perform.
Yeah.
They weren't on top of the ACC at that point in time. But it just shows you how the rivalry is.
Mm-hmm.
Because even though they weren't ranked and we were ranked at the time, I think we were ranked, probably top 5 at the time. That game ended up being a double overtime game.
Yep.
Which some great basketball players that participate in that game. There were some great things done in that game, and as a freshman for me, the experience of being over in Cameron was something in itself.
Mm-hmm.
It is a place that's second to none in the effect that it has on the game and the effect that it could have on players. Um, I found it to be extremely difficult for some.
Yeah.
For myself, it wasn't so difficult, especially as a freshman, because I wasn't playing much anyway.
Yeah.
So it was just the experience and seeing how the fans were and so on and so forth. So um, that game was really, for me, really showed how important that rivalry was because, like I said before, we're top five.
Mm-hmm.
They're not being ranked. They're having a
Mm-hmm.
difficult season. You get in that game, everything goes out the window.
Yeah, for sure.
It goes out the window. And so, it ended up being one of the most, celebrated games that I've participated in
Yeah.
briefly in college basketball
Yeah.
because of the double overtime.
Yeah. That was the Capel shot, right?
Cable shot from
Yeah,
I happened to be on the court at the time. When
Oh, really?
Got it and shot it, and I sit there and watched. I said, "Oh man!"
Yeah. Was that one where you were watching and you're like, "Oh, that looks pretty good"?
Yep.
Yeah.
Went over my head. I looked. I said, "Yeah, that looks like it's going in." Oh man, here we go again. Another overtime. But it was great. It was a great game. It was a great game, but great for the Heels. Great for the Heels.
Yeah.
Win in Cameron.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's one of the cool things about the rivalry is, like you said, records don't really matter, and once you get in that game, it's just anything can happen, and it's one of the rivalries where it's really delivered over the years, like some really cool moments.
Oh yeah,
and that's definitely one of them that you see all the time. All right, so jump into my sophomore year. First and foremost, another W for the Blue Devils. This one was kind of a wild one. This one was we were down 16 in the second half, and this was the Nolan and Seth game where they kind of put the teams on their back and brought us back, and we ended up with a 6-point win in Cameron. I think Nolan had like 34, Seth had 22. Most of them in the second half. Nolan had 22 after half. So that was a fun one, man. I remember that one that night. Kyrie was, still hurt. He was still out, and he was going crazy on the bench, and we were all going crazy on the bench watching. And, Cameron, that was one of those nights where Cameron was really, really rocking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My sophomore year over in Cameron, it was the last game of the ACC regular season. It was senior night for the Blue Devils, and I think this game was kind of my coming out party in all actuality. My sophomore year, I began to play a little bit more. I think I averaged probably around 17 to 20 minutes a game, maybe somewhere around in there. And I do vividly remember before the game in Cameron, Coach Smith in the locker room, he walked up to me. He said, "Shammond, be confident and go out there and play like you're capable of playing. Have a great one tonight." And it was the first time he had ever said anything to me like that. Just take your shots and be comfortable and stuff like that. And so, I listened, and once I got my opportunity, we ended up, doing some pretty good things. Because at that point in time, after coming back from the Final Four the previous year and losing Jerry and Rashid, people didn't think that we were as good as that team, even though we had gotten Vince, Antoine, Alamola. And so
y'all had some squads, man. Good gracious.
Yeah. But at that time they were freshmen. That was the first time being in Cameron. It was my second time being in Cameron, but I didn't play much my freshman year. And so being in this game and having an opportunity to have an effect on the game was really good in my growth. In that game, Coach Smith, like I said, allowed me to do a lot of things that I hadn't been able to do much during the season, and I ended up in the CBS game, ended up having 28 off the bench against the Blue Devils,
Whew.
and made it a bad day, a bad seeing day for a lot of us guys.
Good gracious. You didn't have to do us like that, man. Jeez.
Hey, man, I promise you, I wasn't concentrating on trying to do you guys that way. It was more or less.
We just happened to be there.
I mean, when you're in that zone, I mean, when you're in that element, like you were talking about that rivalry, that's the best rivalry in college basketball for sure, and
Absolutely.
it may be the best rivalry in sports.
Yeah.
So that element. I mean, the Cameron Crazies. I mean, they help take you to another level now.
Absolutely, it works both ways sometimes.
Yeah. And so for me, I had a lot of friends that went to Duke. I would be over on freshman campus a lot, and so a lot of people, I would see. I used to do this a lot. Before we would play you guys in Cameron, I would go through Shesheskyville.
Oh yeah.
So I would go through Shesheskyville and and have fun with with the people that were in the tents and stuff like that. And the next day, hey man, it was it was a war.
Yeah, absolutely.
In their eyes.
Yeah.
But we were able to get that win over there in Cameron. So that made two right there. That made two.
Yeah, you got two. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, so then we go to my junior year. Our first loss in Cameron to the Heels. And it's coming off a game where we won, and we'll get into that a little bit more next time. But we won. We shouldn't have won. Carolina was better than we were that year. And so I think they came into Cameron with a little revenge on their mind, and they kicked our butts pretty good, 88-70. I don't think they ever trailed, and I don't think we were ever in the game. So, not the greatest senior night for those seniors. But they got us out of there. It was a team with Kendall, Harrison. I think John Henson was still there. Zeller was there.
Yeah.
So it was a really, really good team. And that year they were just better than we were. and they were upset that they didn't close out that game at Carolina, and they let it be known when they got to Cameron.
I think I was at that game at Carolina. I was at the game at Carolina that year. My junior year was the one game that I don't remember much. So I had to go and look it up, research it. And I saw that we lost in Cameron 80-73.
So that's why you kind of got it out of the mind.
I just I can't recall that game for some odd reason. But I know the guys that participated in that game for sure. But it was interesting because usually I think, I can reminisce back to a lot of the games that I participated in, and that was one game that I couldn't. And so when I began to look it up, I started thinking, Shammond, you must have lost this game. And I may have not played well. I got to go back and look into the archives and see, what I did that game. But unfortunately, whatever I did, I didn't do enough. You guys won. So, hey, there it is.
Yeah. So then, senior year, senior night, again got the W. So that puts us at 3-1 for my career in Cameron. 93-81. So classic track meet between a couple teams that don't really like to play defense. Looking at the second half, 53-44 in the second half, which is crazy. So yeah, it was just no defense in the second half, and I'm sure it was entertaining for the fans that night. Jabari went off. He had 30. I think Hood had 24. So good night for our two best guys, and we had some other guys to contribute. And I think this was the only Duke Carolina game I started. So shout out to Coach giving me the start on senior night, and so that was a fun way to end the career in Cameron, getting that W.
So
putting up 90 points.
Are you telling me? I mean, I'm listening to what you're telling me. Are you telling me that you didn't start your senior year?
No, not. I wasn't an every night starter. No, I started here and there.
Because you know what, I followed. I followed you, and for you not to be a significant starter, that meant that you really had an impact on the game, because you only remember people that had impacts on games, and so for you to to be a great player, but also a great shooter. When you said that, it's that kind of shocked me a little bit.
Yeah, senior year I was kind of used as like this weapon, this kind of flash in the pan kind of thing. So I would come in, and every time I came in, we ran the same play for me, to the point where halfway through ACC season, as soon as I walked on the court, the other coaches were, here it comes. He's coming off the handoff. He's coming off the handoff. Right. And so, that's kind of how I was used. My senior year was coming off the bench, and I knew, it was nice because I knew, first couple possessions, I'm at least going to get a touch and get a look. Right. So, that was always nice. And I think I actually scored my 1,000th point in this game, if I remember correctly. But
man, that's to not be a regular starter to get 1,000 points, that's working now.
Yeah, a lot that 3-point line helped me out.
Yeah, that's working now.
Yeah, for sure.
That's working.
Knocked down a couple shots in my day, for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's why when you said that, I'm shocked. I said, man, I'm getting old to my age. I used to recall. So for you to say that, I said, that's interesting. Going to my senior year over in Cameron is one game that I feel like I wish that we could have gotten it back. It was like a tale of two halves to a certain extent. I think that we as a basketball team in Chapel Hill got a little cocky because of how that 98 team was and how things had, proceeded playing against Duke and where we were in the ACC at the time. At the game over in Cameron in 98, we were actually up 20 points at halftime. And through a lot of that game, we were up significant. And then I think that, as a basketball team, we began to play with the game because it seemed so easy. And your hat has to go off to that team, that Duke team, because they battled back. And they actually ended up beating us in that game. And I think that may have gave them the regular season championship or tied us for the regular season championship, something to that effect. But that game right there was kind of, when you start talking about playing in Chapel Hill or playing in Cameron, that game there was going to be our, say, 82-50.
Yeah.
That game was going to be the 82-50. But hat goes off to that crew. I mean, Wojo, Trajan, Ricky Price, Elton Brand, Shane Battier, Rashawn McLeod, Taman Domzowski, Carrawell.
Yeah, Sewell. Yep. Sewell was on that team.
Carrawell was big for them in that game. Were big for them that year.
Yeah.
William Avery. They had a great team, a great team, and And like I said before, things were coming so easy for us as a basketball team. I think in that game we got a little lackadaisical as a team, and then take it as serious to finish that game. And then that was the year too. We didn't have Dean Smith. He had retired at the beginning of that year, and so unfortunate for us, we didn't get to win in Cameron.
Yeah, that's the Wojo hugging coach game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, when he runs off and gives coach a hug. Yeah.
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 And and in my head, I knew that he should have been crying. It should have been the other way.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's interesting because I had this conversation with my teammates a lot about that game, about that game right there. Like, it showed that we weren't. I mean, as good as a basketball team we weren't ready to get to where we were trying to get to.
Yeah.
But that game allowed us to be much more focused, for sure. We didn't take anybody else for granted from that point on.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I promise you that.
Lesson learned.
Yeah. So we ended up actually playing Duke again in the ACC tournament championship.
Okay. Yeah, I think we played Carolina once in the ACC championship my sophomore year.
Yeah.
To even the not even it out, but it was a grudge match because we were 1-1.
Okay.
Yeah, so we had to get them out of there, man.
Y'all beat them?
Yeah.
What was the score?
I think we won by double figures. Let me look it up.
Yeah, we handed out sweet tea. As you say, as Andre said, yeah, we handed out sweet tea.
You handed out a gallon of sweet tea?
Yeah, we gave him a gallon of sweet tea. We're going to get that gallon of sweet tea.
Oh, yeah. We got him out of there. 75-58.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. You didn't give him tea, but you gave him fried okra.
Yeah. We didn't give him the whole thing, but we gave him enough. They was full at the end of the night for sure.
Gotta go back and look at that one, bro.
Yeah. I remember that one because like I said, it was 1-1. Right. I thought we were better that year. And we probably should have won at Carolina that year, but yeah, they beat us for to get the regular season title. And so, yeah, we had that one circled and we were pretty excited for it. And Nolan set the tone because first play of the game, he stole it from Kendall and and stomped on the ground. And so at that point we were like, okay, we was ready to go. I mean, we just had a good night, man. Everybody was making shots. And, just kind of bust off.
That Carolina Duke game is where you find out. I always say if your game travels. If your game travels, that's the environment that you're going to find out. And so, I enjoyed that rivalry. And to be honest, like I have a great relationship with Coach K.
Yeah.
The one thing that I tell people this all the time. When I was in Chapel Hill, when I was in school, I worked with Johnny Dawkins. So he would allow me to come over. I would come over to Cameron and I would work with Johnny Dawkins. So, he was teaching me, he was giving me the insight I needed to become a better basketball player. And for me, it said a lot about Coach K because I felt like Coach K could have easily have said, Johnny, if you want to work with Shammond, that's fine, but it can't work with him here in Cameron.
Right, yeah.
And so, I've always held that in high regard because I do feel like those things that I learned from I call him Mr. Dawkins. I learned from Mr. Dawkins really helped me propel my game. I mean, I was learning from a pro.
Mm-hmm.
and I took everything that he said literally.
Mm-hmm.
So I had Coach Smith that was giving me opportunities and teaching me things, but then on my own time, I was having an opportunity to work with Mr. Dawkins. And so a lot of times people say, they look and see the performances that I had in Cameron.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, you had great performances. Well, I used to work
It was,
out
oh
with
yeah, it was there all the time. I was comfortable.
yeah, I was really comfortable. But
Yeah.
I've always held Coach K in high regard for being selfless
Mm-hmm.
and understanding it was about the kid and not the rivalry.
Right. Right.
And and so I Jeff would tell you, because Jeff and I are close. I'm the first person to get Coach K to take a selfie. I, I have a selfie with him when we were recruiting a few years back, and I was just I just learned how to do the selfie thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I was sitting there, Jeff. I said, Jeff, I'm gonna get Coach K to take a selfie with me. And he was like, he don't do selfies. Well, we're gonna find out right now. Coach K, I said, Coach, I said, man, take a selfie with me. And he was like, sure, Shammond. He put his and Jeff was kind of looking at me. I said, well, see, he don't do it for you, Jeff.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I've always held him in high regard, not just because of the coach that he's been and the success that he's had,
Mm-hmm.
but actually, the personal effect that he having on my career, allowing one of his disciples, I call his disciples of coaching, to coach me and teach me why he was a coach at Duke.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's one of the cool things about the rivalry is that it's just the game,
For sure.
It's just those 40 minutes twice a year. And then outside of that, for us as players, like for fans, whatever,
Right.
y'all do whatever y'all do and
Yes.
spew hatred at each other all year round. But for us, it's just those 40 minutes where where I root against them. And honestly, come tournament time, I root for Carolina to do well because Roy's a really good guy and my dealings with him, I have a lot of respect for him and a lot of respect for what he does because he come February and March, he always has them ready to go. And so if they're not playing us, then it is fun sometimes for them to get blown out. That's fun, but by other teams. But it doesn't do nothing for me if it ain't our guys doing the blowing out. So yeah, and another a lot of those guys, I grew up with.
That's right.
Playing with Kendall, I've known since I was 9-10 years old. Reggie played against him since 14, 15. So a lot of those guys you just know. So it's like playing against friends, and it is it's intense and all that, and you want to win, bragging rights and all that for sure. But again, it's just for 40 minutes. Right. You dislike them, and then life goes on.
Right. And I think, like you said before, Dre, a lot of people are shocked to see that we are as close as we are.
Yeah.
And when I was in college, we all got our haircuts at the same place, 40 below. Lynn was my guy, and so that's actually how I met Coach Dawkins. But I mean, like you said, we would hang out together. Sean and I, Chris, we just had relationships with one another, trading. We just relationship. But like you said before, when that game starts, when that environment starts, it's like, look, man, I'm going at you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got to go at you because I know that you're gonna go at
me. So, there's no other way.
Yeah. So it wasn't like it was it wasn't any animosity or anything personal. It was just, it was competition. And like you said, bragging rights. When we see each other, Yeah, boy, I got
Yeah, we got y'all up out of there.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
play you on Saturday and see you Sunday night at
Yeah. Yeah.
be like, yeah, boy, I got you last night. I mean, that's just how things work.
For sure.
And
For sure.
I mean, like even now, we are, Rashawn and I, we stay in touch. Carrawell, that's my guy.
Yeah.
I talked to me and Nolan talk. We just it was interesting a few years back in Virginia in Hampton during the break of the EYBL.
Mm-hmm.
Was in Subway, and Wojo came in the Subway, and so Wojo and I was sitting at a table talking to each other, eating, and a guy walked in and he said, you heard him say, "Oh my goodness." And so you turn to see what's going on.
Yeah.
He's standing there looking at us, and he was like, "I never thought that I would see this." And to a certain extent, you start, what is he talking about?
Yeah, yeah. What do you
like,
mean?
Yeah, I'm thrown off a little.
Yeah, like it's.
What is he talking about? And then he says, "A Duke guy and a Carolina guy sitting there having lunch together." And then we kind of laughed about it. But it's like it's amazing that those guys don't understand that as much as that competition and that rivalry is, you have appreciation and respect for one another.
Absolutely.
And not just on the court, but off the court as well.
Yeah, because it's almost like playing against like a sibling,
Yes.
where it's like, you love each other, blah blah blah, but when you're competing, it's almost turned up to another level because
Yes.
you're gonna have to deal with like, I got you, we got you, because you play against like and no disrespect, but like a Boston College, and it's like, win or lose, I'm not gonna see you next weekend, when we're at, partying or whatever.
Right.
I'm not gonna have to deal with you. Right. But like when you're playing someone that's close, you really, really want to win because they're gonna be telling you about it.
No question. And it makes the rivalry great. It does. It makes and like I said before, it is the best rivalry in college basketball.
Absolutely.
And it may be the best rivalry in sports.
Yeah. And it's hyper competitive. I mean, I think it was 2 years ago where like the last 100 games, it was even. It's completely even. And so there are ebbs and flows, but it's always super competitive. And that's one of the things that adds to it. I'm in Oklahoma now. My wife works at OU, and they have a rivalry with Oklahoma State football, and it's like 60 something to 12. I'm like, that's not a rivalry. Like, that's big bro beating up on little bro every year. That's not, it's not.
Yeah. You understand? Yeah. You got a sense of what the outcome's going to be.
Yeah.
That game's even played.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the one thing that you can't do with that Carolina.
No.
You can't go in there saying, well, we this and we that, because Lord knows.
It don't matter for 40 minutes.
Change dramatically.
Yeah.
Fast. Fast.
Yeah. All right. So getting to this year's matchup.
Yes.
A couple teams that are struggling a little more than we normally do.
Right.
Kind of limping around in this ACC season. Us coming off a bad loss at Miami, which doesn't help our tournament chances at all. And then I think you guys just came off a loss as well, right? Here
in South Carolina against Clemson.
Yeah.
Which I hope doesn't harm our tournament chances, but
yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it's a wild year, man.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, I think you guys have a little bit more wiggle room than we do. I think we got to get some wins down the stretch. But yeah, so what are your thoughts on this matchup this year?
I think it's really you have two teams that are not playing the way that they're usually capable of playing from the names. But I think this is two different teams in the matchups. I mean, the matchups are going to be extremely important in how the coaches decide to use those matchups. I think that Duke is perimeter oriented.
Mm-hmm.
They have a stronger perimeter, and as well as North Carolina has a stronger interior.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you're going to have to see how each coach is going to defend the other to keep them from using their strengths. I mean, that's just basketball. I'm going to try to make you do something that you don't want to do. I'll make you, do something different. So I think this game, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know.
No.
You don't know how it's going to show up, who's going to show up.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to be done to counter what the other team brings to the table as their quote unquote best offensive structure. So I'm really looking forward to it. Regardless of where they are, I think this right here for me is going to, I'm going to evaluate the chess match within the game.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. Evaluate.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I mean, like you said, it's kind of a classic Duke Carolina, where Carolina's front court is their strength. I know when I was there, that was you guys always had a strong front court, that we had the two real big guys that could dominate the game, and you had to focus on rebounding and trying to keep you guys off the glass. And then us, we play a little bit more finesse most of the times, even though Matt is more of like a 4-man, he steps outside and shoots the three and, kind of plays inside out. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. I know Duke have been going to some zone recently in the last few games, so I wonder if they may try to do that to try and, keep you guys out of the paint, pack the paint with defenders.
Basketball.
Yeah, try and make you guys, shoot some more shots from the perimeter. But my only thing with the zone is, it's a bit harder to rebound out of a zone. Because, you don't have a guy. So just making sure guys find bodies, because, that's what Carolina does, especially, you guys play two bigs. They crash the glass, and, sometimes a shot is just a pass to a big off the rim. So, I think it'll be an interesting matchup, and it'll be a little bit weird, in Cameron, no fans for Carolina game. I mean, it's been weird all year, obviously, but especially for the Carolina game. But like you said, man, this year, I don't know. Game in and game out, we got it's like Jekyll and Hyde. You get a different team coming out every night.
No question. I feel for Carolina to win that game. I've always felt like this. The key to North Carolina, this team, is Garrison Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
His aggressiveness, his the opportunities for him to be able to receive the basketball, touch the basketball. Doesn't mean that he has to score the basketball all the time, but he has to be the facilitator. It has to touch his, in my opinion, it has to touch his hands each and every possession down court. Why? Because he's an offensive threat in certain situations, but he's also a great passer, big to big.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Baycoats and Day'Ron Sharp's scoring comes from him entering the ball into the post.
Yeah.
So him having that basketball in his hand and being aggressive and looking for his opportunity to score is very, very important for Carolina's success and for them to to have the rhythm that they need.
Yeah.
If he's not touching the basketball or being involved and being aggressive for himself and others, then I think that Carolina gets extremely stagnant.
Yeah. For Duke, I think it'll be interesting to see kind of what they do with Matt on the offensive end. Typically, he has some kind of matchup advantage where he's a little bit taller than his defender. And, he can just kind of shoot over him. But with Carolina's length, I think it'll be a little bit different. So it'll be interesting to see if they do more perimeter-oriented stuff, try and get him away from the basket and kind of attacking instead of quite as many post-ups as he's been doing. So that'll be interesting. And, we need Matt's been, super consistent, but, we need, Jalen Johnson to be, who he can be at his highest level. And then we need that third and fourth guy to be there as well. So, we're going to need Wendell, we're going to need DJ or Jamin Brakefield off the bench. We need somebody to fill that third and fourth scoring role, because, that's where we struggle, is when we got Matt just doing his thing, and, Jalen's helping out. And then, it's just those two on the offensive end, and it's so much easier to guard, if you only have to worry about two guys as opposed to, all five guys.
Yeah, Carolina, we struggle shooting the basketball from the perimeter.
Mm-hmm.
Our guard play is getting better. You have young guys.
Yeah.
Team, so it's getting better here and there. But just with freshmen, it's finding the consistency. And I'm pretty sure that, like you just said before, the people that you're counting on to be consistent are freshmen as well.
Yeah.
So across the board for both teams, you're counting on freshmen to be consistent and show up and do what they're, capable of doing each and every night. Now, Day'Ron Sharp pretty much does that for us on the interior, but we have to get that consistency from the perimeter. And so when you look, you can pretty much say, you know what? Which freshman guards from either program
is going to show up
well
is
going to dictate kind of what goes on in this game.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how they perform in this game. They won't have, for Carolina, they won't have the effects of the Cameron Crazies in this game. Not saying that, it still won't be an impactful game or a big game for them, but, this experience that they're experiencing this year will be totally different than the experience they experience next year.
Absolutely.
And playing in Cameron. So it'll be interesting to see if there will be any jitters because of because you and I know you're in that environment. It's you have some people that have jitters. Some people live for the moment.
Yeah. It affects everybody differently.
It affects everybody differently. So it'll be interesting for me just to see the effects of that game, or will the freshmen even feel any different than anybody else? But we do know the upperclassmen will know the magnitude of that game as opposed to the freshmen. So it'll be interesting to watch all of them and see how they respond and perform in this game tomorrow evening.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one of the things you have to worry about is being too jacked up,
right?
Because then that, then you're flying shots over the rim and air ball and stuff because you're just too amped up. So you got to find that balance, man, of getting excited for the game, but then not being over the top with it. All right, so prediction time. Let me guess, you're going to choose Duke by 20 plus? No?
I'm going with Carolina.
Oh.
And 12.
Woo. 12? Y'all beating us by 12?
Offensive rebounding. I think battle of attrition.
He's just going to wear us down.
Battle of attrition. I think battle of attrition. Because I gotta, I go into the game thinking, what would Shammond do? I know what I would do. I would put those two dudes on them blocks, and I put three guards around them, and I say, enter the ball into the post.
Yeah.
And if you double team me, get the ball over the top, finish at the basket, or swing it, get an open shot, but most definitely hit that board.
Yeah.
So with Carolina having four bigs, I just think that it just wears on you. It just wears on you on over the amount of time. But that's what I would do. That's what I'm thinking will happen, and I'm hoping that will happen. So I'm going Carolina in 12.
All right.
What's that? Okra. Well, it can't be okra. We're gonna call it. You're gonna get some mashed potatoes.
Okay.
Mashed
All right.
What you think? What you I got it. You going Carolina 20. Sweet tea.
Nah, y'all ain't getting no sweet tea. Y'all not getting no sweet tea, bro. Come on now. Shoot. I'll go Duke by 6. So it'll be a good game, close game. I think I'm gonna go. I think Mark Williams has a coming out party, gets himself a double, plays well, helps us on the glass. Matt does his thing, and Duke by 6.
Yeah, I most definitely think that Matt is going to be important.
Yeah,
but that's why I start the first 5 possessions into the ball in the post on him.
Mm-hmm.
You got to slow him down. You got to slow him
down.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
If he get loose, he could be a problem. He start getting loose and trailing and shooting threes and get you coming out and driving. He could most definitely be a nightmare.
Yeah, I do the same, man. Get him playing some defense, run him off some screens, get into his legs a little bit. So, come second half, those threes are, legs are a little heavier. Threes come up a little bit shorter. I agree with you there for sure. Yeah. I don't see it happening though.
You don't? Yeah, I don't know. I might have to, every once in a while I send a text message that had I never get a reply. But at least I try.
Yeah. Hey, that's all you can do, right? That's all you can do.
Yeah, so but I think it's going to be an interesting game. Like I said before, I'm looking forward to seeing how these young kids respond to this game more than anything else. And it's going to say a lot about the programs moving forward into the second half of the ACC season.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to. Hopefully, it's a fun one, man. Hopefully, it's a fun, entertaining one. Either whichever way it goes. Hopefully, to the Blue Devils because we need them. We need some wins, man.
Yeah, we need to win. We need to win too, Dre. If you get the best, we need to win too. Win on the road.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
Win on the road, man. So.
All right, well, I apprate the time.
I appreciate you for having me.
Yeah, this was fun.
This was Dre's idea, so I don't want anybody to get this misconstrued. And make sure that he gets, whatever he gets for this, because this was a great idea.
Yeah.
And I'll make sure that people know that this was your idea, and I really appreciate you reaching out to me and offering me a chance to participate with you. And God permitting, we'll have a chance to do this again, talking about the wins at Carolina.
Yeah, definitely. We'll definitely try and get it done again for the game at Carolina. I think there's a few less wins for us there, so I'm not really looking forward to it. But I'll brush up on the results, and we'll do it again for sure. No
question. Well, thank you, Dre. Good luck to you guys tomorrow. I hope you play a great game, but I hope you lose. And I appreciate you having me again.
For sure.
Go Heels.
Nah, let's go Duke, baby.